Hello, welcome to the third episode. You know, New Year break and stuff, so it's kind of nice. Happy New Year to everyone in this big 2026. Today we'll be going through something a bit nice. I mean, you can say nice, a bit interesting in particular. If you know a bit about philosophy, I'm pretty sure you know about this term. I don't know if it's a term, something like that. Maybe you've known like nihilism or existentialist, all that stuff. It's a very good topic in my opinion. Today we'll begin discussing about absurdism. Finding meaning without answers. There's a moment many people experience at some point in life. You wake up, do what you're supposed to do, follow the routines, and suddenly you ask yourself a very simple question. Why am I doing all this? Not in a dramatic way, not because something terrible happened, just a quiet question that doesn't seem to go away. I'm pretty sure we've been there somewhere in our life, just like, what's the point of all this? What's the point of doing all this? Albert Camus called this feeling the absurd. If you don't know, Albert Camus is a French. He didn't call himself a philosopher, but he's some sort of journalist and an author. If you don't know him, maybe you know the myth of Sisyphus. He's like, I don't want to spoil our topic, but he have this like really nice, really interesting take about the myth of Sisyphus, about Sisyphus. And then he also read The Rebel, The Stranger. I'm pretty sure he read The Fall. Basically something like that. Anyway, the play. Wait, did he read the play? Okay, let's move on. What can you mean by the absurd? For Albert Camus, the absurd is not that life is meaningless by itself. The absurd appears when two things collide. Our deep desire for meaning, clarity and purpose, and a world that doesn't clearly offer any. Humans, we want answers. The universe is silent. The gap between is the absurd. We ask life for explanations, and life doesn't really respond. That silence is what Camus meant. Oh my god. That silence is what Camus meant by the absurd. Oh my god. I swear every time I do this video thing, it seems like my knowledge to read is like so my knowledge is like so bad about reading. I don't know why. Anyway, what the absurd is not. Camus wasn't saying that life is not pointless, and he was not saying that nothing matters. He was describing a feeling, the tension between our questions and the world's silence. There's a lot of people like a bit of confused a bit confused when they're like explaining or like kind of like get mixed up between existentialism and nihilism and absurdism versus nihilism. Okay, let's like break it down one by one. Nihilism says nothing matters, so give up. Nihilists often feels life meaningless because they don't have any sort of motivation. They just see life as a what's the point of living life? It feels so empty and all that stuff. Well, and nihilism is like something like my life is empty, so there's nothing matters anymore. Basically something like that. No excitement, no motivation, just like living in this some sort of like blank. Basically like very very like I don't know how to explain nihilism. It's basically like you didn't you didn't see life as life anymore. Something like that, right? You don't really have motivation to do anything, to meet anyone. You just like think life is very very boring in some way, but it's not really boring because you didn't find anything excites you anymore. Maybe like your hobbies didn't really excite them like they used to and all that stuff. That kind of like make our make that nihilist life feels a bit meaningless. So even if they die tomorrow, if someone died, they don't care. That's what they usually think sometimes. That's basically nihilism in just like explain pretty simply. Well, nihilism says nothing matters, so give up. Absurdism says nothing matters, so live anyway. See the difference, like very very different. While existentialism focuses on creating meaning through choices, absurdism focuses on tension between meaning seeking and meaninglessness, advocating rebellion within that tension. So I hope when I actually like explain this, you get it, the difference between absurdism and nihilism, because they're a bit close, more closer than you think, but it's not really that. Absurdism basically embraces that whatever meaninglessness, right? So if everything is meaningless, so let's just live, you know what I'm saying? Well, nihilism say this some sort of meaningless. What's the point anyway? You know what I'm saying? Basically something like that. I would kind of like clear a bit behind those two contacts. Suicide meaning and Camus main question. Camus famously said that the most important philosophical question is whether life is worth living. Not because he wanted people to give up, but because he took the feeling of meaninglessness seriously. For Camus, suicide was a way of escaping the absurd, and he didn't think escape was the answer. In absurdism philosophy, it involves in sort of like revolt, freedom, and passion. It's a bit, it's pretty like come with it, and we'll be discussing it together. Yay! Let's go. Number 1, revolt. Daily quiet rebellion. Revolt doesn't mean anger or chaos, it means refusing to lie to yourself, accepting that life has no guaranteed meaning and choosing to live anyway. Number two is freedom. If life doesn't come with fixed meaning, then we're not bound to one either. This connects to modern life nicely about it's frightening but also freeing. Freedom to do, you don't need to do anything, there's no meaning, so just live your life, That's basically like what this second point is. Passion. Camus, hold on. Passion, presence, not productivity. Camus believed that living fully doesn't mean achieving more. It means being present, experiencing life without constantly demanding that it's justify itself. Basically, absurdism is like not really finding meaning. It's just like living without searching for its meaning. Basically, being happy without the reason why you're happy. Do you get it? I hope you get it. Enjoying and living through life without needing, why am I alive? Why am I doing this? What's the point of my existence? What's the point of the universe? All that, some sort of like pretty nice questions. Just enjoy life as it is. Oh my god. I sound like a man. I sound like a grandpa. Anyway, this is where the fun begins. Albert Camus explain something a bit more really interesting theory. He wrote The Myth of Sisyphus. Okay. Oh my god. It's like Camus illustrates all of this with the myth of Sisyphus. It is written in 1942, if I'm not mistaken. It's a really popular book by its time. A man condemned to roll a rock up a hill forever, only for it to fall back down again. You see that? Do you see how this is going? Oh, my bad. From the outside, it looks meaningless, but Camus asks us to imagine something unexpected. He quote this really famous. He quote this really famous idea about we must. This is what Camus tell us. We must imagine Sisyphus happy. Can you imagine a man? Wait, is it a man? A man? Myth of Sisyphus is God, no? Oh, well, technically, Sisyphus is a man. Okay. A man condemned to roll a rock up a hill forever, only for it to fall back down again. And imagine pushing a rock inch by inch and then fall back down again. Do it again and again and again. We obviously think it's very what's the point? You know what I'm saying? But isn't it feel like it's useless? It's kind of like, doesn't us feel like it's useless to push something just for it to roll back down again and again and again? And then Albert Camus tells us we must imagine Sisyphus happy. That is a very unique, absurd idea, Why do we need to think a man pushing a rock forever till the end of time for it to roll back down again and again and again? He explains not because the task changed, but because Sisyphus becomes aware of his situation and owns it. He just lived through it. He didn't find any meaning with that situation. He just doing it, embracing his situation. It's a very interesting idea and a very interesting story. And even till this day, that idea brings back to now, to modern life. In many ways, modern life feels absurd. Repetitive work, endless scrolling, searching for meaning while feeling quietly disconnected. Camus doesn't offer comfort, he offers honesty. Honesty through reflections about why, obviously, people nowadays would rather spending time. I mean, come on, bro. I saw an AI hologram, all that stuff, and it's getting crazy nowadays, replacing people like human connectivity with kind of like AI, making us more feel more disconnected to other human. So this actually makes like very good point. Absurdism is not about despair. It's about living without guarantees, without pretending the answer are already there. Maybe meaning is not something we find. Maybe it's something we practice even in the face of uncertainty. And maybe that's enough for us to live happily ever after. Wow. A very nice topic. Oh, it's very short. Anyway, that's basically what absurdism is. I hope when I actually break it down, it doesn't confuse with the difference between absurdism and nihilism, because sometimes people get mixed up between them. So it's a very simple topic. It doesn't require us to do like more than 20 minutes. So it's a very simple one, how we should enjoy life without needing any answers on why. And I mean, like, reasons about our own existence or something else. It's make us to embrace our life even more, about how we should just like live life without needing anything to answer our questions about life. That's basically absurdism. Nihilism is a bit more complex. Maybe we'll get touch on that, maybe. But I've actually explained it just now, so it's basically that. It's basically like absurdism, but a really wrong mindset. While absurdism is more like the same, like the different side of the same coin. While you just live life and say like, so be it. Well, that's the difference with this like absurdism. If you want to like learn more about this, be sure to check out some Albert Camus book. I'm gonna lie, maybe his interviews are very nice actually, guys. You should actually like check out sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I love watching them interviews. Even when you don't know French language, you just like you get them like calm when he actually spoke, you know. If you don't know, Albert Camus did some documentaries and it's pretty interesting. Anyway, that's all for Albert Camus and Absurdism. Yeah, that's basically all for Albert Camus and Absurdism. And Happy New Year. Oh my god, I took a really long New Year break. Anyway, that's all for today. That's all for tonight. I hope you enjoy the small yap about absurdism. Maybe we'll get touch on nihilism and existentialism, but that's all. Okay. And goodbye.